Hey, welcome. Happy Saturday morning. This is the Rich Lieberman Media Pulse. We talk about various Bay Area media, radio, television, and the like. Look, it gives me no pleasure, truly, to harp on and beat a dead horse, as they say. But when it comes at me, and thus you, and it is about as unintentionally funny and quite frankly just incomprehensible, then I have to talk about it, and I'm going to talk about it today. And I'm speechless. I am speechless. But let's talk about why I'm speechless. So Saturday morning, I get up early. I never really sleep. That's why I'm as screwed up as I am, but not really. Um, so I immediately go to the internet. I read the news. I check various outlets, Drudge Report, local news, various sites, USA Today. I put the radio on. And I frequently have, even though it's an absolute cluster, I have KCBS on. I figured I'd want to know what local headlines are. And even if they rerun stories 10 times, sometimes more than that. So they have on a new anchor who really shouldn't be on the air, as I will illustrate. Um, so they have on this reporter. Her name is Raquel Maria-Dillion. And uh, they had her on about, I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago. And she was brutal. Um, some people can anchor, some people cannot. There are those, you give them a little experience, you train them, which at KCBS is foreign concept, I guess. She was god awful, and everything was off. Well, I turn on the radio Saturday early. It's about 6 o'clock in the morning, and there she is again. Now, folks, let me say this, and I'm going to be on the defensive, which I shouldn't. It's going to illustrate the fact that I don't care. She happens to be a woman. If it was a black woman, black man, white man, Asian, Hispanic, folks, I really don't give a damn about your gender, about your race. If you sound ridiculous and there's lots of improprieties, then I'm going to highlight and talk about that. And look, I give people breaks because they sound as if they're just starting out. Let's get back to this situation with Miss Raquel Maria-Dillion. She is not ready to anchor. It was unbelievable to listen to this person on case, even by KCBS standards. And KCBS recently hired a new program director, a news director. Well, get this, news director. You cannot put on Raquel Maria-Dillion. She is not ready. She's not even not ready. She's not ready for prime time, morning time, evening time, afternoon, weekend. She shouldn't be behind a mic. Why, you ask? Those of you who heard this morning, Saturday on KCBS, will understand why I am talking about this unbelievably, unquestionably amateur hour. First off, dead air on radio is akin to utter failure. You cannot have dead air on radio. That's your retail. That's your meat. That's where you make your money. That's where you deliver the goods, so to speak. You can't have dead air. Well, Miss Raquel Maria-Dillion had constant bits of dead air from her news, the little news they broadcast on KCBS, particularly on the weekend, there were absolute every other second dead air bits. She, frankly, was awkward sounding. And at KCBS they do their own board. They have you have to do a board. You have to press buttons so that sounders, whether it's for sports or traffic, what have you, if you don't press the right buttons, then you get a lot of dead air. And I'm assuming because they have no money, which gives them an excuse, I guess, on Saturday morning, there was just amount of dead air was unconscionable. I kept waiting to say, geez, is somebody going to help this woman? It's bad. And in many respects, I feel sorry for this lady because look, she needs training, whatever. Maybe they just literally, I think this is the case. They had nobody to put on the air on Saturday morning at KCBS. So they just told this woman to go on the air. I guess maybe she volunteered, even though she has no experience. As an reporter, she's fine. Not my cup of tea, but she sure as hell is a lot better as a reporter as opposed to anchoring, which she clearly has no mechanism for the job. There was dead air. There was awkward bits of interviews. She had a guy on that she interviewed with regards to unemployment in California. And the interviewee didn't help matters because he was not very, well, shall we say, fluid. So you had lots of awkward questions. You had dead air when the answers were coming from this guest. It just was really, really sad and bad. Sad and bad. But it didn't stop there. Miss Raquel Maria-Dillion, and I'm making fun of that because she accents her name, not Wah. And it she goes to the a half hour news at CBS, dead air. And then after traffic reports, after the 30-minute past the hour news spot from CBS, more dead air. And even when there wasn't any dead air, there was at least 2 or 3 seconds of complete and utter silence. Again, folks, it sounded as if they just literally told somebody to go on the air and do anchoring because they couldn't get anybody. It makes her look bad. It sure as heck makes KCBS look bad, although they've been looking and sounding bad for years now because they have no missive. They have no direction. They have people who are there that should not be anywhere near a microphone. And when they have people on the microphone, it sounds utterly incomprehensible. I keep using that word, incomprehensible. How could anybody allow this to take place? People in the old days, people would get fired. They'd get fired. They'd have them come in. I worked in radio early in my life and understand that this would never take place, let alone on a station like KCBS, which used to be run professionally and is now, even with a new news director. You can't have this happen. Yet this happens all the time. I'm not being dramatic to be dramatic, folks. I am giving you about as diplomatic a take as I can describe without laughing hard. It's an awkward sound. How do they let somebody like this on the air? Constant dead air, constant awkwardness, constant just complete and utter failure. This is not supposed to happen on a major market radio station, let alone a news station. God forbid, and I'm serious, God forbid, if there was a breaking news story, if we had some kind of natural disaster, if we had a major fire, some sort of terrorist incident, something, some tragedy, some incident to which somebody in the studio on the air had to ad lib. Oh my God, I would shudder. I would absolutely shudder in my mind to think of what it would sound like. I mean, this is bad. And I'm not going to plug or put a link on my site for you to listen to this. Go on Odyssey and Google KCBS Saturday morning, starting at 6 o'clock, and put the name of the anchor, Raquel Maria-Dillion. And I think they have some sort of a playback, but I'm not going to put their link on. I don't want any issues or anything like that. And you can hear directly what I heard and shake your head. And I texted somebody and I said, this is a person well known or well known in broadcast circles who no longer is on the air, but spent a great deal of time on radio in the Bay Area and beyond. And they were not shocked. They were not surprised because that's the way it is these days. But I say no. I'm not going to fall for that. This individual should not have been on the air. They don't train these people now. They just stick them on. And even if somebody was sick or they couldn't arrive for duty and couldn't work, then I'm sorry. You do something. Maybe you go to a network feed. Maybe you go to the Odyssey feed. But just to schlep somebody who clearly has no idea of how to broadcast and with all the awkward dead air moments and the awkwardness between traffic tosses and sports tosses, just utterly terrible. KCBS, I just cannot believe that this is allowed to take place. Once again, I I would shake my head and still shake my head if, God forbid, again, we had some kind of a natural disaster or some major breaking news that this person would have been stuck there and left to work alone. It's not her fault. It's not her fault. Somebody high up, somebody real high up, beyond the new news director that they poached from Washington, could have seen this and could have acted immediately, or maybe if not immediately, could have turned on the radio and heard this awkwardness and immediately called somebody at the station, maybe an editor, maybe a fill-in, maybe somebody, and said, get your ass into the studio and relieve this woman. She's not fit to do this. That's how bad it was Saturday morning on KCBS. And folks, if this is allowed to happen, even in this day and age, we are in a sorry state. That's all I'm going to say for now. And boy, could I say more further on.